Time to check in with Dr. Joe Schwarz. He is host of the Dr. Joe Show, Sundays at 3 here on CJAD 100 and director of the McGill Office for Science and Society. Dr. Joe, I need to start with this headline here. You write, why should you not pee in a pool? I thought the answer to that was because you're not a disgusting human being. So what is the rest of the answer?
Yeah, a lot of people, of course, do use the swimming pool as a toilet.
No, Joe. Say it ain't so, please. You can use the ocean to do that, not a pool.
It'd be so, Aaron. It'd be so.
Oh, man.
Now, because they're too lazy to climb out and go to the bathroom, and it's just too easy to let loose in the pool. Now, the reason I mention this is because there's a study that just came out. There's studies that come out about everything every day, right?
Okay.
Well, this one is about a chemical called cyanogen chloride that forms in a swimming pool. And it's a reaction between urine and the chlorine that is, of course, used to disinfect the pool. And the scary headline is that cyanogen chloride is a chemical warfare agent, which is true. It is indeed used in chemical warfare. But, of course, as you know, and I've mentioned so many times, only the dose makes the poison, and numbers are the currency of science. So we have to ask the question, how much forms? Well, obviously, it depends on how big the pool is, how many kids are peeing in the pool, and all of that. But the fact is that you can actually get significant amount, not only of cyanogen chloride, but also of a compound called trichloramine. Both of these are formed by chlorine reacting with uric acid in the urine, and they volatilize. And believe it or not, the smell that you get, particularly in an indoor pool, is not the smell of chlorine. That's what most people think. It is actually the smell of the chloramines, which are due to pee reacting with the chlorine.
It's even worse. Okay.
Yeah, and while of course the amounts are much lower, obviously, than what one would use in chemical warfare. Nevertheless, they are not necessarily innocuous because there are some people, especially people who have asthma, whose lungs can be irritated by this. And respiratory problems, a lot of people have respiratory problems. Those are exacerbated by exposure to trichloramine. So it's not total nonsense. I mean, I don't think that one has to panic. I mean, you're not going to die of, inhaling cyanogen chloride in an indoor pool. But there is a legitimate argument to be made for not using that pool as a toilet and for being a responsible human being, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good to know. So those of you who are peeing in the pool, you're contributing to chemical warfare. Just thought you'd like to know. All right.
Right.
Joe, let's move on to our second topic today, which is interesting. We know all of the wonderful benefits from olive oil, right? The purer, the better, I guess. The suggestion is now, and I guess this is a question somebody asked, you saw this somewhere, olive oil as a preventative for dementia. What's this about?
Right. Well, first of all, let me ask you, Aaron, over the last week, how many spoonfuls of olive oil did you eat?
Maybe spoonfuls, maybe 2.
How many grams of ground beef did you eat?
None.
Really?
Yep, didn't have any beef. I eat salmon almost. I eat fish, basically.
Okay. Anyway, the reason that I ask this is because these studies, such as this one, olive oil, are all based on nutritional surveys, where people are asked either by telephone or just to fill out forms on what they have eaten over the last few days or last week or even the last 6 months. And they are asked to estimate amounts as well. And we know that this is notoriously unreliable.
Yeah.
People don't remember exactly what they ate, and even more so, they don't know how to estimate amounts. Especially when it comes in terms of grams. I mean, people will recognize how much, a quarter pounder weighs, although I can tell you that I've done this in class where I ask the question, how much does a quarter pounder weigh? And you get all kinds of answers.
Beyond a quarter pound?
Yes.
I see. Okay.
All right. So anyway, those nutritional surveys are unreliable, and also because people are not necessarily honest. They will put down foods that they think they should have eaten instead of what they actually ate. But nevertheless, it is a methodology that is used, especially when you have a large population. Now, this particular study came out of two very large studies. One is called the Nurses' Health Study, and the other is the Health Professional Follow-Up Study. And these studies for close to 30 years have followed about 100,000 women and men. And periodically, they were asked to fill out questionnaires about their diet and also about their health status. Now, even though there are memory problems and honesty problems, you would think that, when you're dealing with 100,000 people, a lot of that evens out. So we do pay attention to this. So the study about reducing the risk of dementia came out of this study where people were asked about the consumption of olive oil. And it turned out that people who said that they replaced about 5 grams of margarine or mayonnaise with a teaspoon of olive oil, these people had a lower risk of death from dementia. Now, this is an interesting, sort of statistic. First of all, the question is, when you replace the margarine or the mayonnaise with the olive oil and you see the benefit, is it due to the positive effect of the olive oil or the negative effect of margarine or mayonnaise that has been eliminated? So there are always these confounding factors, unfortunately, in these studies. On the other hand, there is some scientific plausibility for the olive oil because it does contain a number of compounds which are in the category of antioxidants, and of course everyone talks about these, as being beneficial. And the ones that are in olive oil actually can penetrate the blood-brain barrier, so they do really end up in the brain. So there is some scientific plausibility here. And it turned out that the risk was lowered by about 8 to 14%. And, that's not insignificant. So what does this really mean? Does it mean that we should be just, adding a spoonful of olive oil to our diet every day? No, I don't think so. But I think one can argue that use of olive oil when you make your salad dressings or, wherever you use oil in your daily life, that it is a good alternative to the other oils. But, there are just so many confounding factors here. I mean, obviously, age has to be taken into account, whether or not some people have a propensity for dementia because there are certain genes that will predispose. There's one so-called ApoE4 gene. If you have that, you're more likely to come down with dementia. So one would have to control for that when you are, doing these studies. The other possibility here is that replacing other fats with olive oil has benefits for the cardiovascular system. And this is something that we know to be true. We know that saturated fats are a problem. We know that trans fats are a problem for heart disease. And if you replace those with olive oil, you solve some of those problems. You reduce the risk. But it also turns out that if you reduce the risk for cardiovascular disease, you also reduce the risk for dementia.
Okay.
So, that may be the connection here.
Joe, I got to wrap up. I just want to ask, with respect to olive oil, would it be like anything else? You try to buy the best quality you can? That make a difference?
Yes, it does. And extra virgin olive oil is what we should be looking at.
Cold press, that kind of cold press make a difference? Is that just marketing?
No, cold press is better. Unfortunately, we have an issue with olive oil is that there's a lot of scam in that business. And a lot of what is passed off as extra virgin olive oil really isn't that.
Oh.
It's diluted with other oils, but that's a story for another time.
Okay, which we'll come back to. Joe, thank you. Appreciate it. Don't pee in the pool.
Thanks, Aaron.
All right.